And we're hearing reports that the province is planning to allow potential home buyers see bids if the seller agrees. For more on what this means for the home buying process, we're joined by Kevin Crigger, president of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Kevin, good to have you with us this afternoon. So this seems very interesting to me because it's up to the seller to agree if the other bids could be seen. We know that blind bids are obviously beneficial to the seller, but don't you think that the buyer should be the one having some kind of say in whether or not they want to see the other bids? Because the assumption here is that most sellers would say, no, I don't want the bids to be seen. What's your take?
Well, I think we applaud the provincial government certainly in bringing forward new optionality in the home selling process. So in the current regulatory framework, we don't have the option to disclose the contents of any offers. So certainly as part of their modernization with TRESA, the new regulatory framework that'll take over for the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act, I think it's certainly a win in that it opens up additional options for how that sale process is transacted.
Do you think that this will benefit buyers, though, rather than sellers, Kevin, if it comes to pass the way we understand it at this point?
I think optionality is a good thing, and certainly a discussion around a more transparent process or providing the optionality for a more open process certainly is a benefit, and some will certainly opt to utilize that as part of their selling process.
Right. Kevin, right now, let's say there's a scenario where a person is trying to purchase a home and the real estate agent says, oh, there's another person or buyer who's interested. How does the other buyer even verify if there is indeed another buyer?
So real estate is probably one of the most regulated industries, regulated professions in the province. So from that end, we obviously have a responsibility to ensure that that offer exists. It can be registered one of two ways. One is the submission of a form registering the offer, which is signed by the buyer who's submitting the offer. The other is actually sending in the actual offer to register. So there is sort of a check and balance that exists in a way to confirm that the offer does in fact exist.
Kevin, where do you think the push for this has come from? I mean, to get to this point here now, is it just the fact that, the price of homes has just become so staggeringly, the increases have been, 28%, for example, according to Royal LePage, in just the first 3 months of this year, like this incremental increases in value of homes? Is it just that the prices are going so high that people are now like, how can I try to sort of tamp this down and get some more control? Is that where you see this coming from?
Well, I think the biggest concern in our market is and has been for the greater part of a decade supply. Interestingly, governments up until very recently have focused on sort of arbitrary demand suppression, looking at things like foreign buyer taxes, which have been proven, especially in our market, don't work. So I think it's part of a broader based conversation that sort of started some time ago around supply, and now we're in a position where the supply constraints are arguably the worst we've seen. And obviously that is a huge factor of rising prices. So I think governments at all levels, from the feds and the province, are looking at ways to appease buyers largely in the process, and try to find options outside of the supply conversation, which is sort of a much longer process.
All right. Kevin Crigger, president of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Really appreciate your take on this afternoon. Take care.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks so much.